Many of us were praised for being prepared and on top of it. So our brains quietly decide that order equals safety and mess equals danger, which is why a harmless pile of mail can actually feel like a performance review. I really want to validate that your experience is real. Hi, I'm Amanda Doyle, and this is Choose Better Thoughts. If you're a high achieving woman in midlife, I bet you've had seasons of drowning in overwork, seasons of beating yourself up for not being further along, and seasons where you're itching for something bigger but afraid to fall flat. These are just phases of growth. Nothing is wrong with you. On this show, I take real life spirals, mine included, and show you how to use simple coaching tools to meet yourself where you are. Because every phase has a skill you can learn, and every skill makes life feel a little lighter. So last weekend, I hosted a pizza party for my daughter's soccer team. So think 12 or so kids, 5 pizza boxes, and my 2 personal nemesis, bounce house balls scattered all over my backyard, and these mysterious little piles of random things that appear on every flat surface of my house. And while parents were just trying to keep their kids from eating 16 popsicles, my brain was whispering, you should have picked up those balls and those piles. They're going to think that you're not on top of things. Meanwhile, the actual circumstances were simply children and pizza, plastic balls, and objects on counters. Of course, no one else noticed. They were busy being humans. These are the kind of tiny thoughts that I care about. The quiet ones that steal just like 2% of our energy and nudge us out of the moment. This is low hanging fruit for easy mindset tools that invite you into a much more peaceful existence without you having to change your career or your partner or your body to feel better. My personal specialty is taking research based, therapy adjacent skills and making them light, usable, and a little bit fun so that you can keep your chill and make a complicated life feel so much easier. And this isn't a fix yourself situation. My coaching method is like a mental game with moves that you can learn to make your life feel more joyful. So, this season on the podcast, we are going back to my favorite basics, the 10 mindset skills that I teach to every client, mapped across the 4 natural phases of growth: awareness, acceptance, authenticity, and alignment. And each episode is going to include a real life story from my life, one tool that I use to coach myself through it, and one quick action step that you can try this week. We are not going to overhaul your life here together. We're going to stack up these 10% wins that are going to add up to feeling 100% more like yourself. So today we start with the foundation, managing your mind. And here's the cheat code. It is never your circumstances that create your feelings. It's the thought that you have about them. So today we'll practice separating facts from the story, checking whether that story gives you a result that you actually like, and try on a believable opposite story that can free up energy on the spot. So, as you're listening, try to pick one tiny area that you want to feel 10% better about this week and see if you can relate the tools to your real life. So, if you're ready, let's play with some coaching. So, this self coaching stuff isn't that hard, but it can feel really hard because of how the human brain works. But here's the thing, your brain is not out to get you. It's just using dated software. And there are a couple basic reasons for this. Reason number 1, we all have threat scanner brains. Our brains are built to notice potential problems because once upon a time, there were tigers trying to eat us. But now bounce house balls migrating across the yard and little piles of stuff breeding on every flat surface can feel like an actual threat in your body. It's the same alarm system, just new decor. Your brain flags possible danger even when the actual circumstance is just children and pizza and plastic balls and things on surfaces. Reason number two that this small stuff can feel heavy is that I and most of my listeners have this gold star conditioning. Many of us were praised for being prepared and on top of it. So our brains quietly decide that order equals safety and mess equals danger, which is why a harmless pile of mail can actually feel like a performance review. I really want to validate that your experience is real. And reason number three, tiny circumstances can actually trigger subconscious thoughts about our identities. If you've been the reliable one or the organized one or the achiever, a tiny miss doesn't necessarily read as oops in your body. It can read as who even am I? But it's not. It's a sock on the stairs or it's eating a wheat thin at 9:47 p.m. None of this means anything has gone wrong. It just means your brain is doing its job a little too enthusiastically. And once you can see that, you can just say, thanks, brain, I will take it from here. So, up next is the simple tool that I use to put things in perspective in a logical, analytical way, the self coaching model. It's rooted in cognitive behavioral psychology. And the best part is you don't have to wait for your next therapy or coaching session to use it. You can apply it in real time on bounce house balls, meetings, late night snacks. So let's take some examples from my life. The first story that I've already previewed with you is this story about bounce house balls and little piles in the party setup with my daughter, Sawyer. So we're setting up for a post-game pizza party, and it's that pre-party window where I could be having fun with my daughter, arranging snacks or taste testing some pizza, letting her put the popsicles in the cooler. But instead, my brain is clocking those two things, the bounce house balls and the little piles of mystery items. If you're a mom, you know exactly the piles that I'm talking about, that no one else seems to see but you. And here comes a sentence in my mind. The other moms are going to think I'm not on top of things. This is a completely subconscious line of thinking unless I pause and notice it. And I could just swat it away and tell myself that they won't care because I know that they won't care. But if I investigate a little deeper, just 30 seconds deeper, I can actually do the work to let go of the thought instead of just dismissing whatever deep part of myself is trying to speak to me. This is how actual healing occurs and confidence emerges. So when I buy into that thought, I feel a little anxious in my body and I start swarm tidying. The result I get is that easy setup moment with my daughter gets crowded out. It's not a crisis, it's just not the connection that I wanted. So, the secret to an easy life is paying attention to these micro stress moments because over time they stack up and they feel heavy, and this just isn't necessary. So, here's how I walk through it in real time. The facts are boring: kids, pizza, balls, piles. The spicy part is the thought. They're going to think I'm not on top of things. My power subtly leaks when my brain assumes that the facts are causing the feeling. This is classic threat scanner plus gold star conditioning. So it tells me to fix the facts, like chase the balls and shuffle the piles to calm down instead of just noticing my optional story. Then the key is to point out for your subconscious brain that the helpful thought actually costs me the result I want, which is a light and playful setup with my kid. That's the proof my brain needs that this thought isn't working, even if it seems responsible. So now I try on the literal opposite story. If the default story is they're going to think I'm not on top of things, the opposite is they're going to think I'm on top of things. It really is this simple. You don't need a clever affirmation. Just rewrite the opposite of the shitty thought in your head. I practice believing this new thought by finding 3 pieces of evidence that make it more true for me. So, for example, the party's organized, the pizza's ordered, drinks are cold, napkins are out. 2, there is a plan, there's a start time, there's a bounce house, activities are ready. Number 3, my track record. I'm extremely organized, and people tell me this regularly. When I let those land, my body softens just about 10%. And with that 10%, I put down a pile, I hand my daughter the snacks, and we go and we load up the cooler together. And that is the point. So let's now look at a work example. See if you can see yourself in my story. Mine is about over preparing for a client versus giving presents. So let's say it's a normal Tuesday, and the fact is that I have a client session at 2 p.m. My brain offers this subtle thought: I need to memorize every detail from last session. Believing it, I feel pressured and I start to reread notes and I overplan the session. By the time we begin, I'm just like a little bit tight and slightly performative. And the priceless thing that my coaching offers, which is non judgmental, fully present space for someone, gets a little bit diluted. I know that I'm still a phenomenal coach, but I also know that any amount of anxiety and pressure can soften my power just a little bit. So let's walk through it. Think about the last time that you over prepared and try to see yourself. First, just name the boring fact, client at 2, and then the story. I need to memorize every detail from last time. For you, it might be rereading PowerPoint slides or scripting out what you're going to say. And where my power leaks is that I treat the amount of prep time like it caused the pressure. This is that gold star identity: be perfect. So I try to fix the fact with over prep. But the pressure is coming from the subconscious thought that I need to memorize every detail. And then I do a result check. The thought promised better coaching, but the result is the opposite of what creates breakthroughs: less presence, less intuition. That's my brain's evidence that this help does not help. So then I do a mental flip to the literal opposite. I don't need to memorize every detail from last time. And I get 3 pieces of evidence. I have notes I can glance at if needed. Memory isn't the only option. 2, my best sessions come from presence and curiosity, never a script. And I have seen this over and over. And 3, memorizing can actually bias me toward last week's story. Presence lets the clients be new today. With that, I feel steadier. I do a reasonable review and then I protect my energy, my presence, and the session can breathe. And the result is one that I actually want. Now let's take a look at a third example. Here's one we can all relate to. Late night snacking when you've set a goal to eat dinner and close the kitchen. And look, do not get me wrong. If you want a snack, snack ladies, snack away. This is just if you've set a specific goal not to, which is fairly common for me and many of the women that I coach. So it's 9:47 p.m. and the fact is that I'm tired. Not that I'm actually hungry, but my brain whispers, wheat thins and cheese will make me feel better. When I believe it, I feel a little bit restless and I snack and I scroll and I end up a little sluggish. Not ruined, just not restored. So walk through it. Where my power leaks, I act like tired is creating restlessness. So I try to fix the tired with food, which is just quick dopamine. But the restlessness feeling came from the thought about what would make me feel better. So then I check the result. The comfort story does not deliver comfort. It delivers sluggish. My brain needs to see that. And now the literal opposite. Wheat thins and cheese will not make me feel better. And 3 pieces of evidence. Every time I do this, I feel heavier, not better, 10 minutes later. 2, a glass of water and lights out usually gives me actual relief. And 3, on nights that I am truly hungry, a small intentional snack helps. On nights I'm just tired, food doesn't. And tonight I'm tired. With that evidence, I try on the 10% softer move: water, quick stretch, and bed. If I'm hungry after, I can eat on purpose, no drama. Most nights I just don't need it. This is the simple, almost sneaky part of managing your mind. The literal opposite thought of a limiting thought is usually available and often more true for you once you look for evidence. Your brain offers the first story to keep you safe and shiny. Remember the threat scan and the gold stars and the identity. You don't have to fight it, just show it the math. Here's the fact. Here's the thought I added. Here's how I tried to change the fact to feel better, and it didn't work. Here's the result I actually created, and I don't love it. Here's the opposite thought with 3 reasons that it serves me better. Feel that little shift. And that is the whole move. Tiny, doable, and it works everywhere from the balls and the piles to the prep to the wheat thins at 9:47. So before we wrap up, let's make this useful in your actual week. Pick one tiny friction that you're dealing with right now. Something low drama but annoying, maybe a reoccurring work call or a messy entryway or bedtime snacking or that text thread that you keep overthinking. Okay, if you have that in your head, close your eyes for 5 seconds and picture this scene. Where are you? Who else is there? What time is it? See it like you're watching a clip from your own life. And now write this down. It kind of matters in the beginning. What's the one line fact? Say the boring version a security camera would record. Try to keep it just to one sentence only. What's actually happening? 2, what is the sentence that your brain offers? Write the exact thought, word for word, no editing. This is the one that quietly drains your energy. When you believe that thought, how do you feel in your body? One word if you can. Anxious, pressured, restless, annoyed. And then when you feel that way, not when you've already coached yourself out of it, but when you feel that way, what do you tend to do next? Name the action that you take or don't take. And then when you take those actions, what result does it create for you in your actual life? Keep it kind of ordinary. Maybe you're just less present, or maybe you're a little more tense, or maybe a little more scattered. Do you like that result? Yes or no? If you like that result, we have no work to do here. If no, your brain just got data. This thought isn't helping. And so now we flip it literally. What is the literal opposite of your thought? Write the opposite sentence exactly. It's not a pep talk, just the inverse. And now find 3 pieces of evidence right now for why the opposite could be more true for you. Keep it simple. Look at the scene, your track record, or anything you can verify. 3 is the magic number. Keep your mind open to the possibility that you have the evidence if you give your brain the chance to look for it. Now read that opposite sentence slowly. Notice a 10% softening, maybe in your jaw or your shoulders or your breath. That body cue is your scoreboard. And if you want to, choose one tiny action that you'll take next. The smallest next move that fits the opposite story. Just one little thing. If you're hearing this before the moment, maybe set a cue now, a sticky note or a 30-minute timer, a glass of water by the bed. If you're in the moment, whisper the fact out loud, flip to the opposite and name your 3 proofs and take one small action. And if you're after the moment, just do a 60-second replay in your notes and set one cue for next time. And here's the encouragement part. At first, write it down. Writing slows the spin and it teaches your brain to rewire. After a few reps, you'll do this in your head in under 15 seconds. That's when it starts to feel like instant relief in everyday stress. All right, let's land this plane. Today's move in one line. Name the fact, spot the default thought, check the result it creates. Then flip to the literal opposite and gather 3 proof points. You're not fixing yourself, you're just updating old software. Aim for a 10% shift you can feel in your shoulders and jaw. Stack a few and you'll start to feel 100% more like yourself. And if you want help doing this in your real life, inside my 90-day mastermind, we spend a full training on this skill. You bring your exact scenarios, the balls or the piles or the over prep or the wheat thins, and we run your model in real time. We flip to the literal opposite, we collect your proof, and we set a tiny action so that you can feel a little bit better on purpose each week. 6 live coaching workshops, audio lessons to your phone, a private community of high-achieving women. The link is in the show notes, and I would love you to come do this with us. Next week, we're going to talk about releasing control when everyone else feels like the problem. We're talking about the secret rule books that we write for other humans and how dropping them makes you feel instantly lighter. Bring your partner or your boss or your group chat and your sense of humor to that podcast. So, your pocket mantra for the road: facts are boring, thoughts are optional, results are chosen. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next week. Thanks for listening to Choose Better Thoughts. If this episode helped, send it to a friend who could use the same shift. And if you're enjoying the show, tap follow, hit the like button, or leave a quick review. It only takes a minute, and it means more women can find these tools when they need them most. And thank you so much.